Hello everyone, welcome to HFY Beyond Terror. This channel is all about HFY and sci-fi stories, where humanity's underestimated and then proves...
Owen Hawley checked his formal jacket for the third time and still didn't trust it. The Terran Legation crest blue sphere, silver laurel sat perfectly centered on his chest, but his fingers kept drifting back to it anyway, as if the embroidery might suddenly slide sideways out of spite. His credential strip glowed a steady green at his collar, broadcasting Junior attached to anyone with a scanner and a reason to care. First major diplomatic function, he told himself. Don't do anything memorable. The Jaren Dominion's Unity Banquet wasn't the sort of event a junior staffer attended. It was the kind of ceremony that lived in briefings and cautionary tales, a night of strict protocol, ancient symbolism, and enough powerful beings in one room to make a small war start from a misplaced toast. But Earth Fresh to the Galactic Council, still treated like a promising but clumsy recruit, had a small delegation. Small delegations did not get to be picky, so Owen had been volunteered into formal duties with a smile from his supervisor and a stack of seating protocols, so thick it could stop a projectile. Now the banquet hall swallowed him. It was enormous football field wide, ceiling lost in shadow, with suspended banners that rippled in slow, deliberate waves, each one embroidered with angular patterns that made Owen's eyes slide away when he tried to focus. Jaren artistry, the cultural packet had said, designed to convey power without aggression. It mostly conveyed, you are a guest in someone else's story. Hundreds of guests moved across the polished floor like currents around reefs, delegates from allied worlds, nobles in shimmering layered fabrics, military officers whose posture looked engineered. Translation units clicked and murmured. Scents drifted in complex layers. Sweet resin, roasted spice, something sharp like citrus and metal. Owen clutched his datapad like a lifeline and whispered the mantra he'd been using for weeks. Diplomatic Corps, 3rd tier. Tables 12 through 20. Don't make eye contact with anyone wearing a crown unless spoken to first. His tablet chimed and highlighted his assignment. Table 1-7 Terran Legation, Junior. He breathed out. Easy. Find the number. Sit down. Smile until your face hurts. Survive. The tables formed concentric arcs facing a raised dais. Their placements were not merely arrangements, but choreography. Alliances, rivalries, status, history. Owen threaded his way between species with different heights and different senses of personal space, nodding as if he belonged. A tall Jaren usherline, long-eared, lacquered horns curling back in polished arcs, gestured him toward a section. Owen saw a table marker, 17. Relief hit him so hard his knees went loose. He approached like someone walking toward a safe island, found a placard that read Owen Hawley Terran Legation, and lowered himself into the nearest chair. It was comfortable. Too comfortable. The wood felt warm under his gloves, as if it remembered hands. He adjusted his napkin and tried to exhale quietly. To his left sat a Jaren noble in muted violet, ceremonial sash pinned with a small constellation of metals. The noble inclined his head in a courteous dip. Owen returned the gesture. Evening. His translator fed him the noble's reply in his earpiece, smooth and formal. First Unity Banquet? Owen's laugh came out thin. Is it that obvious? The noble's long ears tipped forward Jaren micro-expression for amusement. Owen remembered from a late-night training video. You have the look of someone trying very hard not to make mistakes. Relax. The food is excellent, and unless you insult the imperial family directly, you'll survive the evening. That's reassuring, Owen said, and felt his shoulders drop a fraction. Small talk, then. Safe ground. They spoke of Earth's recent admission to the Council, of trade corridors and cultural exchange programs. Owen nodded in the right places, asked questions with the correct level of interest. And for 5 whole minutes he almost felt like a real diplomat instead of an intern in expensive clothing. Then the hall went silent. Not the gradual hush of an announcement, an instant severing of sound like someone had cut a wire. Forks paused mid-air. Conversation froze in open mouths. Even the ambient hum of translation units seemed to stutter. Owen felt it before he looked up, the weight of attention. Every head turned toward him. His stomach dropped through the floor. He replayed the last 10 seconds in his mind, his words, his tone, his posture. Had he used the wrong honorific? Had he committed one of those unforgivable gerund offenses like crossing his utensils or breathing in the wrong direction? A figure shoved through the stunned crowd toward his table. Ambassador Lin Chun, Earth's senior diplomat and Owen's direct superior, moving with the kind of speed that meant something had gone horribly wrong. Her expression wasn't just angry. It was terrified. She reached him, leaned down, and hissed, "Owen, tell me you didn't sit there on purpose." He blinked. "What? This is table 17. Diplomatic Corps." He lifted his datapad like proof. "I checked." "That's not the problem," Chun whispered. Her face had gone pale beneath her foundation. "Look at the chair. Really look." Owen's gaze dropped. Only now did he notice the difference. His chair wasn't like the others. Those were elegant but uniform, carved with simple Dominion motifs. His had intricate engravings, braided symbols, interlocking rings, stylized blades. A faint shimmer ran along the inlaid lines as if the patterns were alive. The noble beside him had shifted away, just slightly, as if proximity had become dangerous. Chen's voice shook. "That's the consort seat." Owen's mouth went dry. "The what?" "Reserved for the future bonded partner of Princess Sarah." Chen's eyes were wide and desperate. "Owen, by sitting there, you've just made a formal public claim." His brain refused the words as if they were in the wrong language. "A claim to what?" "To bond with her." Chun's fingers clamped around his sleeve hard enough to hurt. In Jaren culture, occupying that seat is a declaration of intent. You have announced publicly, in front of the entire Dominion, that you are requesting Princess Sarah as your intended. Owen's lungs forgot how to work. "Okay," he managed, "but I didn't—" "I know you didn't," Chun said, voice cracking. "But protocol doesn't care." She tugged. "We need to get you out before." "Before what?" Came a voice from behind them. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Authority rolled off it like gravity, and everyone within earshot straightened as if their bones had been recalled to duty. Owen turned. Princess Sarah stood at the edge of the table. She was taller than the dossiers suggested, built like someone who trained for war rather than court. Her ears long, royal, edged with a thin gold chain, were angled forward in intense focus. Her uniform was military black with a crimson sash, heavy with campaign insignia, 17 small emblems arranged in a precise arc across her chest, each one representing a victory. The room held its breath around her. She looked at Owen sitting in the consort seat and assessed him with eyes that didn't blink often, eyes that looked like they were calculating angles. Then she spoke clearly enough for the hall to hear. "You have taken the bond seat." Owen's heart banged against his ribs like it wanted out. Sarah's gaze didn't move. "Do you understand the meaning of that act?" He could say no. He could claim ignorance, apologize, scramble away. He could let Chun patch the diplomatic crater. But Chun's earlier whisper echoed. Backing away from a public claim is a grave insult. Rejecting a princess in front of her people wasn't just embarrassing. It was a statement that she was unworthy, that her honor was a joke, that the Dominion's customs were optional. Earth's place on the council was new, fragile, and watched for signs of weakness. A public insult here could stain every negotiation for years. Owen's training from officer school surfaced like a lifeline. In chaos, pick the option that causes the least immediate damage, then improvise like your life depends on it. It probably does, he thought faintly. He swallowed, forced his spine straight, and met the princess's eyes. I understand, he said, amazed his voice didn't crack. A ripple moved through the hall, gasp swallowed quickly, whispers beginning. Sarah's ears tilted, not back in anger, but subtly forward in something like surprise. She studied him for a long heartbeat, as if checking for deception. Then she nodded once. Then I accept your claim. The whispers erupted into a storm. Sarah stepped around the table and lowered herself into the chair beside him, simpler, but positioned to make a statement. The claimant's seat. The pairing completed like a ceremonial lock turning. Chun's face went slack with horror. Owen sat very still, trying to convince his body not to bolt. Sarah leaned slightly toward him, speaking only for him now. Breathe. He did. You will need to make it through dinner, she continued, tone calm as an execution order. Panicking now would be inconvenient. That's good to know, Owen managed. The banquet resumed in fragments. Servers moved again. Conversations restarted, louder and sharper. More than one dignitary approached their table to offer congratulations that felt suspiciously like condolences. Sarah ate as if she had all the time in the galaxy, measured movements, precise bites, the kind of composure that made Owen painfully aware of his own shaking hands. The Centauri envoy is furious, she observed, gesturing minutely with her fork. He has been positioning his nephew for this seat for 2 years. You have disrupted significant planning. Owen winced. I didn't mean to, I know. There was a pause. That is what makes this interesting. He risked a glance. Her eyes held faint amusement, sharp as. A blade edge. I thought it was table 17, he said, helpless. It is table 17, she replied. But this seat is not for table 17. A small flick of her ear. You were exceptionally lost. Story of my life. To his shock, Sarah's mouth curved. Not a full smile, but the beginning of one. Later, when the final course was served and the hall relaxed into post-meal noise, Sarah set down her utensils and turned fully toward him. We will speak formally tomorrow, she said. Terms, duration, expectations. Terms, Owen echoed. The words sounded like contracts and traps. As custom requires, she continued, an engagement must be honored for a reasonable period. 6 months minimum before an honorable withdrawal. Owen's brain latched onto minimum like it was a cliff edge. 6 months, yes. She watched him closely. Is that intolerable? He considered, startling himself with the thought. It wasn't intolerable. It was impossible, ridiculous, terrifying, yet she had not once tried to humiliate him. She had explained. She had made it manageable in her own severe way. It's complicated, he admitted. But I've had worse assignments. Her ears tilt amusement again. Remarkable. Most would be shaking. I'm good at looking calm while my life catches fire. That is what competence is, Sarah said, as if stating a battlefield fact. We choose grace despite chaos. When the banquet concluded, she rose, and Owen rose automatically. Somewhere deep in his training, etiquette aligned with instinct. You will attend the military honors ceremony tomorrow, she said. As my acknowledged consort-to-be. My attendant will brief you. Owen's throat tightened. I don't know your protocols. You will learn. She paused by the table's edge. One more thing, Owen Hale. Yes? If this becomes too much, tell me. Her voice softened by a fraction still steel, but warmed. We will dissolve it honorably if you cannot endure the scrutiny. It was Considerate, unexpected. Thank you, Owen said, and meant it. I am not a monster, she replied. I am simply treated as one. Then she left, and the room seemed to exhale after her. Chun appeared at Owen's elbow like a ghost with a headache. You're alive. Barely, Owen said. Chun stared after the princess's retreating back. Do you understand what you've done? I accidentally proposed to the Dominion's most feared warrior. You didn't propose, Chun hissed. You claimed. Which is worse. He rubbed his face. What happens now? Now, Chun said grimly, we rewrite the next 6 months of diplomatic communications around you. The next morning's meeting took place in a private sitting room inside the royal compound, less brutal than Owen feared, but still heavy with tradition. The walls were lined with banners showing Dominion battle honors. A tea service waited on a low table, steam rising in thin curls. Sarah arrived exactly on time, wearing her duty uniform instead of court regalia. She sat across from him without ceremony. You look like you expect an execution, she observed. Owen tried to smile. I accidentally declared intent to bond with the Dominion's blade. Execution felt possible. If I wanted you dead, she said calmly, pouring tea, you would already be dead. I prefer efficiency. It was the closest thing to reassurance he'd ever heard. She slid a cup toward him. Custom requires 6 months of acknowledged courtship. During that time, we appear together publicly. We allow observers to judge the match. After 6 months, we proceed to bonding or we withdraw mutually, citing honorable incompatibility. That sounds... Owen searched for the right word. Survivable. Good. She studied him. Why did you not flee when you realized? He exhaled. Honesty felt safer with someone who could probably hear fear in his pulse. Because leaving would have insulted you publicly and hurt Earth's position. Staying seemed like less immediate damage. To his astonishment, Sarah laughed one sharp, genuine burst that cracked the room's tension. You claimed me out of pragmatism and panic, she said. That is new. Is that bad? It is refreshing. She leaned back slightly. Most claim me from ambition or because they fear seeming weak. Owen sipped tea to buy a second of courage. May I ask something? Yes. Why did you accept? He spread his hands helplessly. You could have rejected me and blamed ignorance. Sarah's gaze went distant for a moment. Because I am tired, she said quietly. Tired of suitors who want power. Tired of those who tremble at my reputation. Tired of being treated as a weapon first and a person never. Her eyes returned to him. Then you sat in my bond seat and stayed because you wanted to avoid an incident. It was honest. I wanted to see what honesty would do if allowed to exist at court. Owen's chest tightened. That's sad. It is reality, she said. You do not want my power, do you? I want to survive, Owen said, then added with a weak grin, and avoid angry nobles attempting to correct my mistake. That is still more sincere than most, she replied, and there was something like approval in her voice. Months passed in a strange rhythm. Publicly, Owen became a symbol, the human who dared claim the Dominion's blade. Court gossip sharpened around him. He was scrutinized, questioned, tested in subtle ways. Conversation traps, etiquette trials, deliberately ambiguous invitations. Privately, something unexpected grew. Sarah proved relentlessly direct. She did not play games unless forced to. When she corrected him, it was blunt, not cruel. When she laughed, it felt like a rare privilege. Owen learned the Dominion's court language, how to stand when officers entered, how to address elders, how to accept a challenge without escalating it. He also learned Sarah's quiet habits, how she liked her tea, how she kept her training schedule with near-religious discipline, how military history animated her like music. 3 months into the engagement, he found himself in her private training facility at dawn, watching her move through combat forms that looked like elegant violence. She ended a sequence with a strike that shattered a practice dummy's reinforced shoulder joint. The impact echoed. "You are not afraid," she said, turning to him. Owen blinked. "I'm impressed. Most look afraid." "I'm not stupid," he said, nodding at the broken dummy. "You could end me before breakfast. But your skill isn't the same as cruelty." Sarah studied him as if he'd offered her a new weapon. "You see me differently." "I see you as you," Owen said. "The warrior is real, but it's not all of you." Silence held for a beat, filled only by the soft hum of the facility's shields. Then Sarah sat on a bench, shoulders loosening in a way Owen rarely saw. "We are past the halfway point," she said. "3 more months and we may withdraw honorably." Owen lowered himself beside her, leaving respectful distance. "Have you thought about it?" Sarah's ears tilted forward, and the expression that followed was unfamiliar vulnerability guarded by discipline. "I expected to endure 6 months and then separate," she admitted. "Return to being what everyone expects." Her gaze fixed on the far wall. "And now I find I do not want to lose the only person who speaks to me as though I am not a symbol." Owen's chest went tight and warm at once. "You are my first genuine friend in years," she said simply. "If you wish to proceed to bonding, I am willing." Owen stared. "You mean really?" "I mean I want you in my life," she said, voice steady. "But only if you choose it. I will not trap you." Owen thought of Earth. Safe hallways, safe assignments, safe insignia straightened in safe mirrors. He thought of Sarah's rare laughter, her fierce honesty, the strange comfort of being seen in chaos and surviving it together. "When I sat in that chair," he said softly, "it was the worst mistake I'd ever made." Sarah watched him without blinking. "And now," he continued, taking her hand carefully, "I think it might have been the best accident of my life." Her fingers tightened around his like a promise. "I claimed you by accident," Owen said. "But I choose you on purpose." Sarah's smile, when it came, was warm enough to make him forget the banners and the war honors and the watching court beyond the doors. "Then we will inform them," she said. "Now?" Owen's laugh broke out, half disbelief, half joy. "Right now? Why delay?" she asked, standing and pulling him up with effortless strength. "I have fought 17 campaigns. I do not fear announcements." He adjusted his collar reflexively, then caught himself and grinned. "Just promise me there aren't any more special chairs." Sarah's ears flicked in amusement. "I will personally point out every seat you are allowed to occupy. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever offered me." "Your standards are low," she said. And then, to his shock, she laughed again. The bonding ceremony came 3 months later, witnessed by representatives from dozens of worlds beneath the Dominion's oldest banners. Owen stood in formal attire that finally felt like it belonged to him, hands steady despite the galaxy watching. Sarah approached in ceremonial armor that made her look both regal and dangerous, her honors catching light like small stars. When the officiant asked for vows, Owen spoke plainly. "I took the bond seat by accident," he said, voice carrying. "But I choose this bond by choice. One choose you not your title, not your reputation, not the weapon the galaxy fears. I choose the person who taught me grace under pressure and laughed at my terrible jokes. I choose you every day." Sarah's ears angled forward, emotion visible in that small, unmistakable movement. "I accepted your claim from curiosity," she said, "and from exhaustion with hollow ambition." Her gaze held Owen's like a blade held steady. "I accept this bond from genuine respect and care. You saw me when others saw only fear or power. You treated me as a person when I had forgotten that was possible." She lifted her chin. I choose you too, Owen Hale, because my heart does. The ritual conclude, braided cords, symbolic cuts sealed with resin, the Dominion's ancient words spoken over them like a shield. When it was done, the hall erupted not in whispers this time, but in a roar of approval that rolled like thunder. Later, in their private quarters, Sarah removed her ceremonial headpiece with visible relief and set it aside. That went well, she said. No objections. No challenges. Owen loosened his collar and let out a breath he felt like he'd been holding for 6 months. No diplomatic incidents. Sarah's gaze slid toward him, sharp with amusement. And did you sit in any wrong seats? Owen grinned. Not once. Growth, she said, and then her expression softened. Though you did sit in exactly the right one. 6 months ago. Owen took her hand again, no longer careful like it was a fragile compromise, but steady like it was home. Yeah, he said. Turns out the worst mistake I ever made was also the best choice I've ever kept.